Most people think Tyler Perry just makes movies. Well, that's true, but only a few people know what this man has built in Atlanta. We're talking about a land empire built on 300-plus acres with its own secrets, own rules, and a past most people would never expect. And once you see what's inside his massive empire, it will completely flip your view about controlling the land. Let's dive in. The empire built on Confederate land. Let's show you a little teaser of what Tyler Perry owns in Atlanta right now, because the scale is genuinely wild, and we'll see everything in detail later on. Right now, we're looking at 330 acres of the former Fort McPherson Army Base in southwest Atlanta, a piece of land with history dating back to the Civil War. This wasn't just any military installation. Fort McPherson served as a Confederate stronghold, a wartime hospital, a training center, and a prisoner internment camp across multiple conflicts. A place literally steeped in the history of war and racial oppression. And today, it's owned entirely by a black man who used to sleep in his car. Tyler Perry bought the entire property in 2015 for $30 million. Then he poured over $250 million into transforming it into Tyler Perry Studios, one of the largest film production facilities in the entire United States. We're talking 12 massive soundstages ranging from 10,000 to over 38,000 square feet. Every single one is named after a legendary black entertainer: Sidney Poitier, Oprah Winfrey, Denzel Washington, Cicely Tyson, Will Smith, Whoopi Goldberg. The studio lot includes 40 historic buildings listed on the National Register of Historic Places, over 200 acres of green space, and 50,000 square feet of permanent sets. There's a full replica of the White House built at roughly 80% scale. There's a luxury hotel lobby, a trailer park, a county jail, a farmhouse, an authentic 1950s diner that Perry physically relocated from a town 100 miles away. There's even a residential neighborhood with 12 fully furnished homes complete with working interiors. This isn't just a studio, it's a city, and everybody pays rent to Tyler Perry. Marvel filmed Black Panther there, The Walking Dead shot there. When the 2019 Democratic presidential debate needed a venue in Atlanta, it was held inside Tyler Perry Studios. Every time a major production needs space in the Hollywood of the South, they're writing a check to one man. Perry controls more than 350 acres of the former Fort McPherson site in total, making him the dominant landowner on the entire base. And he's not done. In 2022, he purchased an additional 38 acres adjacent to the studio for $8.5 million, with plans to develop a 1.3 million square foot entertainment district featuring theaters, retail, restaurants, office space, and a Georgia Film Museum. That project is expected to be completed by 2028. But the studio is just one piece of Tyler's Atlanta empire. His primary residence sits on 2,100 acres in Douglasville, Georgia, about 20 miles from the studio. A 40,000 square foot mega mansion with 8 bedrooms, 12 bathrooms, a gourmet kitchen, wine cellar, home theater, fitness center, spa, library, massive lap pool, organic farm with horses, a man-made lake, walking trails, a helipad, and a private airstrip. The estimated value of that estate alone: over $100 million. Tyler Perry's total net worth sits at $1.4 billion according to Forbes. He earns between $200 million and $250 million per year. His content library includes over 1,200 television episodes, more than 20 feature films, and 24 stage plays. The Madea franchise alone has pulled in nearly $700 million worldwide, with each film costing less than $10 million to produce. And here's the kicker: Tyler Perry owns every single frame of content he's ever created. Every play, every movie, every television episode. He didn't sell his rights for quick cash. He held on to everything. That single decision is why Tyler Perry is a billionaire today. So how does a guy who grew up broke in New Orleans, who never finished high school, who slept in his car while trying to stage his first play, how does he end up owning a former Confederate military base and a 2,100-acre compound worth over $100 million? The story starts at the absolute bottom. And you can't appreciate where Tyler Perry stands without understanding where he started. From sleeping in cars to $100 million in tickets. Tyler Perry was born Emmett Perry Jr. in New Orleans, Louisiana, in 1969. His childhood was defined by poverty and trauma. His father physically abused him. A family acquaintance sexually abused him. He attempted suicide as a teenager. He changed his first name to Tyler to distance himself from his father. He never finished high school. He earned a GED instead. There was no trust fund, no mentor, no investors writing checks. Just a young man from New Orleans who heard Oprah Winfrey say on television that writing could help people heal from pain. So he started writing letters to himself. Those letters became the foundation for a musical called I Know I've Been Changed. Tyler scraped together every dollar he had to stage it in Atlanta in 1992. The first performance played to a nearly empty theater. Most people would have quit right there. Tyler spent the next 6 years rewriting that same play over and over again, sleeping in his car, working odd jobs, pouring every paycheck back into his craft. By 1998, the play finally caught fire. Audiences packed the house. And from that moment, Tyler Perry never looked back. But here's where the genius kicks in. Perry didn't chase Hollywood. He built his own lane. He created the character of Madea, a loud, no-nonsense grandmother, and took his plays on the road through what's known as the urban theater circuit. This was a network of venues across the South and Midwest that catered almost exclusively to Black audiences. No major media coverage. No mainstream critical attention. Just word of mouth, church networks, and a loyal fan base that showed up in droves. Before Tyler ever directed a single Hollywood film, he had already sold over $100 million in tickets, $30 million in videos, and $20 million in merchandise. He was filling 35,000 seats a week across 300 live shows a year. Think about that for a second. The man was already a multimillionaire before a single studio executive even knew his name. He was operating an entire entertainment ecosystem outside the traditional Hollywood pipeline, and he was printing money doing it. Then he walked into Lionsgate with a proposition most filmmakers would never have the nerve to make. The ownership decision that made him a billionaire. Tyler offered to put up half the budget for his first film. Lionsgate put up the other half, took a small distribution fee, and they split the profits. Diary of a Mad Black Woman opened in 2005 and pulled in over $50 million at the box office on a tiny budget. The film went on to generate an estimated $150 million more from video sales, licensing, and streaming. And here's the critical detail. Perry kept ownership of his content. Every play, every movie, every television episode. He owns the negatives, he owns the masters. He didn't sell his rights for a quick payday. He held on to everything. That single decision is the reason Tyler Perry is a billionaire today. By 2011, Forbes named him the highest-paid man in all of entertainment, pulling in $130 million in a single year. Not the highest-paid black man. The highest-paid man, period. Because Perry writes, directs, produces, and distributes almost everything himself, the profits flow directly to him. His deal with TBS for House of Pain alone was reportedly worth $200 million, with roughly $138 million going straight into Perry's pocket. He followed that with an exclusive partnership with Oprah Winfrey's own network in 2012, producing over 500 episodes across 5 different series, including The Haves and The Have-Nots. That show became the most watched scripted series in OWN history and is widely credited with saving the network. Then in 2017, Tyler signed a landmark deal with Viacom, now Paramount Global, worth $150 million per year for original scripted content. Under that agreement, Perry committed to producing 90 episodes of original programming annually. And get this, he still retained ownership of everything he created under that deal. He also secured a 25% equity stake in BET+, the streaming platform that launched as a joint venture between BET and Tyler Perry Studios in 2019. So not only was he getting paid to create content, he owned a piece of the platform that distributed it. That's vertical integration at the highest level. In March 2025, Paramount bought out Perry's stake in BET+ for an undisclosed sum believed to be in the 8-figure range. Perry cashed out his equity position at the right time but kept the production contract, which runs through 2028 and is valued at 9 figures. The man exited his ownership when the price was right and still kept the income stream. That's the kind of financial maneuvering that separates moguls from millionaires. But the real crown jewel of the Tyler Perry empire? The land. The studio that rewrote Atlanta's economy. In 2015, Tyler Perry purchased 330 acres of the former Fort McPherson Army base for $30 million. A former Confederate military post, a place steeped in the history of war and racial oppression, now owned entirely by a black man who grew up sleeping in his car. Perry himself has spoken about the poetic justice of that reality. And then he invested over $250 million transforming the site into one of the largest production facilities in the United States. 12 massive soundstages, 40 historic buildings, over 200 acres of green space, 50,000 square feet of permanent sets, a full White House replica, a 1950s diner relocated brick by brick, a residential neighborhood with 12 fully furnished homes. This is a working city, and everyone pays rent to Tyler Perry. Marvel's Black Panther was filmed there. The Walking Dead shot there. When Democrats needed a venue for their 2019 presidential debate in Atlanta, they held it inside Tyler Perry Studios. Every time a major production needs space in the Hollywood of the South, they're writing a check to one man. Tyler Perry Studios alone functions as a key anchor of Georgia's entire film economy, which generated $8.55 billion in economic output in fiscal year 2022. Tyler isn't just building personal wealth, he's an economic engine for an entire state. And he's not done expanding. The additional 38 acres he purchased in 2022 will become a 1.3 million square foot entertainment district with theaters, retail, restaurants, and office space by 2028. He initially planned an $800 million expansion of the studio itself, adding 12 more sound stages, but paused the project in early 2024 after seeing the potential impact of artificial intelligence on traditional filmmaking. Even in pausing, Tyler demonstrated something most moguls lack: discipline. He didn't throw money at a problem. He stepped back, assessed the landscape, and waited for clarity. That's the mindset of a man who's been broke before and refuses to ever go back. But while Tyler was building a studio empire in Atlanta, he was also quietly assembling a personal real estate portfolio that's just as absurd. The 2,100-acre compound with a private airstrip. Tyler Perry's primary residence is a 40,000-square-foot mega mansion sitting on 2,100 acres in Douglasville, Georgia, about 20 miles from the studio. He started acquiring this land back in 2013, buying up parcels that were originally slated for a community of over 1,300 homes. Tyler had a different vision. He built a compound that feels more like a private kingdom than a house. The estate features 8 bedrooms, 12 bathrooms, a grand foyer, a gourmet kitchen, a wine cellar, a home theater, a fitness center, a spa, and a library. Outside, there's a massive lap pool, an organic farm with horses, a man-made lake, walking trails, a helipad, and a private airstrip. Drone footage has revealed Bible verses from Psalm 91 inscribed across the rear of the mansion. The estimated value of this estate sits at over $100 million. Before Douglasville, Tyler lived on a 17-acre estate on West Paces Ferry Road in Buckhead, one of Atlanta's most prestigious addresses. He purchased it in 2009 for $9 million, poured millions more into renovations, and sold it in 2016 for $17.5 million to an evangelist. That property later ended up in the hands of Steve Harvey. The Buckhead mansion featured a 70,000-gallon infinity pool and an underground ballroom. But Tyler outgrew it the way he outgrows everything. He needed more land, more privacy, more room to think and build. Douglasville gave him all of that and then some. But that's just Georgia. Tyler also owns a 24,000-square-foot Tuscan-style villa in Beverly Ridge Estates in Beverly Hills, the same property where he famously hosted Prince Harry and Meghan Markle when they first arrived in the United States after stepping away from the royal family. He owns a log cabin retreat in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and for the ultimate escape, he purchased a 25-acre private island called White Bay Cay in the Bahamas, where he built a 14,000-square-foot Balinese-style villa. He owns 2 private aircraft. His combined real estate portfolio across all properties is estimated at well over $100 million on its own. Tyler Perry didn't just buy houses. he bought kingdoms. And each one serves a different purpose. Atlanta for work, Beverly Hills for Hollywood access, Wyoming for solitude, Bahamas for paradise. But here's what separates Tyler from most billionaires. He doesn't just hoard wealth. The philanthropy that reflects the struggle. Tyler Perry moves with a philanthropic instinct that most billionaires simply don't possess. And it's not performative. He gives because he remembers what it felt like to have nothing. He established the Tyler Perry Foundation in 2006 with a mission focused on health, education, clean water, and sustainable economic development. Through a partnership with charity, Water, he's helped deliver clean water access to over 65,000 people across Ethiopia, Haiti, India, and Cambodia. When Hurricane Katrina hit his hometown of New Orleans in 2005, he didn't just send a check. He funded the construction of 20 homes. The community was renamed Perry Place. When he heard about a 93-year-old woman in South Carolina being pressured by developers to give up her family's land, he built her a brand new 5-bedroom house on her own property. In 2018, he walked into 2 Atlanta area Walmarts and paid off every single layaway balance in both stores during the holiday season. In 2020, he covered the funeral expenses for Rayshard Brooks, a black man killed by police in Atlanta, and offered to fund the college education of Brooks's 4 children. He donated to the NAACP Centennial Celebration, the largest single donation the organization had ever received from an individual artist at the time. In 2023, he pledged $2.75 million to freeze property taxes for over 100 low-income seniors in Atlanta so they could stay in their homes. He received the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award at the 2021 Oscars, presented specifically for his work feeding vulnerable communities during the pandemic. Tyler doesn't give to get press. He gives because he knows what it's like to be broke, abandoned, and desperate. And now that he has resources, he uses them to lift people who remind him of where he came from. The content setup that prints money. Let's talk about the actual content Tyler owns, because this is where the real wealth lives. Tyler Perry's content library includes over 1,200 television episodes, more than 20 feature films, and 24 stage plays. The Madea franchise alone has pulled in nearly $700 million worldwide, with each film costing less than $10 million to produce. Think about those margins for a second. Spend $10 million, make $50 million to $100 million. And Tyler owns it all. Every frame, every character, every distribution right. His deal with TBS for House of Pain was worth $200 million, with $138 million going directly into his pocket. The Haves and the Have-Nots saved OWN Network and became the most watched scripted series in its history. His 2017 deal with Viacom committed him to producing 90 episodes of original programming annually for $150 million per year. And he retained ownership of everything created under that deal. By owning his content, Tyler doesn't just make money once. He makes money every time someone streams it, licenses it, or reruns it. The revenue compounds indefinitely. That's the difference between making millions and making billions. Hollywood has always operated on a model where studios own everything and creators get paid once. Tyler flipped that model entirely. He became the studio. And now, Hollywood pays him. His studio in Atlanta serves as the physical infrastructure supporting this content empire. Every episode of every show he produces gets shot on his lot, using his equipment, paying him rent. Tyler Perry didn't just ask for a seat at the table. He bought the land, poured the foundation, built the table, and now charges admission for anyone who wants to sit down. The empire that rewrote the rules. So here's what makes Tyler Perry's story so powerful. He didn't inherit a single dollar. He didn't have a famous last name. He didn't have a college degree. He didn't have a co-sign from a major studio. Everything he built came from one decision he made in the 1990s that most of Hollywood still refuses to make. He chose ownership over everything. He chose to bet on himself when nobody else would. He built his own soundstages when no studio would give him a room. He financed his own films when banks wouldn't return his calls. And now every major studio in the country has to come to him if they want to shoot in the South. Tyler Perry's empire isn't just about personal wealth. It's about rewriting the rules for every Black creator who comes after him. He proved you don't need Hollywood's permission to build a billion-dollar empire. You just need vision, discipline, and the refusal to sell what you create. From sleeping in a car in Atlanta to owning a former Confederate military base, a 2,100-acre compound, a private island, and a content library worth hundreds of millions, Tyler Perry is proof that ownership is the ultimate currency. He didn't just change the game for Black creatives, he rewrote the entire rulebook. A former Confederate stronghold transformed into a studio where Black stories get told. A man who grew up abused and broke now owns 2,100 acres with a private airstrip. A content library that he controls every frame of, generating hundreds of millions in perpetual revenue. That's not just success. That's sovereignty. And honestly, for a guy who started by writing letters to himself to heal from trauma, Tyler Perry's empire proves that the best revenge isn't just success. It's building something so big that the people who doubted you have to pay you just to operate in your city. So what part of the Tyler Perry empire blows your mind the most? The 330-acre studio built on Confederate land, the 2,100-acre compound with a private airstrip, or the fact that he owns every single frame of content he's ever produced? Drop it in the comments below, and for more deep dives into how Black wealth gets built and sustained, subscribe to Black Status.